right, here we start going. I'm going to talk in probably about 30 seconds. The system has to get warmed up. Hello, everybody. Welcome to our telephone town hall meeting. We appreciate you joining us tonight. We're going to be on for the next 45 to an hour, as it were. If you have any questions, please, by all means, of Ken Buck, and by the way, he's running for Congress, please press 0. That's 0 on the keypad on your phone if you have a question for Ken. All questions are welcome. Again, if you do have a question tonight, please press 0 on the keypad on your phone. We're also collecting email addresses between now and the primary, which is at the end of this month coming. We would like you to press 7 so we can send you email updates. So if you want to provide us your email address, please press 7. That's 7 on the keypad on your phone. So again, welcome everybody. Welcome to our telephone town hall meeting we're having tonight. We appreciate you joining us. Ken Buck is here to answer questions, tell you why he's running for Congress, et cetera, et cetera. If you have a question of Ken, and we see some people are taking us up on that, please, by all means, press 0. That's 0 on the keypad on your phone, 0 to ask Ken questions, and press 7 on the keypad on your phone if you want to provide us your email address so we can send you emails between now and late June. So one more time, welcome everybody. Welcome to our telephone town hall meeting. We're going to be on for the next 45 minutes to an hour. If you have a question, please press 0. That's 0 on the keypad on your phone. And if you'd like to provide us your email address for email updates, please, by all means, press 7. Ken Buck, take it away, please.
Thank you, and thank you so much for being on this call. It means a lot to me and Perry, and we really appreciate the opportunity to visit with folks. We have a mess in this country, and my number one priority is to fix the financial disaster created by Congress. We have $18 trillion in national debt and $100 trillion of unfunded liabilities. Congress has been overspending for so long that we are financially bankrupt, and if we continue to saddle our children and grandchildren with our debt, we are also morally bankrupt. It is time that Congress pass a constitutional balanced budget amendment and play by the same rules as the states. I also support a constitutional amendment to term limit senators and representatives to reduce the corrupt atmosphere of Washington, D.C. And you can be sure that I will always vote so that health care and retirement laws that apply to you and your family will apply to me and my family. And at this point, I'd love to answer some questions if we have some ready, and just spend the time answering your concerns.
We do have a question coming up right away. It's from Corey, but before I bring Corey on the line for the people who just joined us, like Corey, if you want to ask a question, please press 0. That's 0 on the keypad on your phone if you have a question of Ken Buck, or press 7 if you want to provide us your email address so we can give you email updates. As promised, Corey, welcome to our telephone town hall meeting. Corey, where are you from, and what's your question, please?
Hi, I'm from Parker in Douglas County. And I have a question regarding Mr. Buck's philosophy as to state rights. I'm very concerned because one of your opponents, Mr. Renfro, has demonstrated a disregard for the same kind of issue on the other side. As a state legislator, he's offered bills that would diminish municipalities' rights under the state constitution of home rule. And so I'm very concerned that if I voted for him and he got to Congress, he would become power hungry at that level and then disrespect state rights. So I wanted to get your viewpoint on the concept of state rights.
Yeah, thank you very much for your question. I'm very, very strongly in favor of states' rights and the 10th Amendment. And I can give you some specific examples. I am opposed to Common Core. I think the Department of Education is absolutely a misplaced federal idea. We should be relying on local school boards. In Douglas County, you have a great school board that is focused on reforms in education. And in fact, we have a system in place in Colorado with charter schools and homeschooling and other innovative ideas that allow choice for parents. I think that choice is so important, and the federal government should get out of the business of dictating education curriculum to our schools. And so there's one example of where I believe we need to change the priorities in Washington, D.C., and make sure that we respect states' rights. There are many others. I just heard the other day on the radio that we need to fund the Department of Transportation more. We don't need to fund the Department of Transportation more. What we need to do is move more funds from Washington, D.C. to the states and allow the states to determine what roads need to be repaired, what roads need to be built and expanded, and get that power out of Washington, D.C. and back to the states. There are so many programs that I would look at and say, this is something the federal government shouldn't be doing. And if we're going to balance the budget, one of the key ways to balance the budget is to get away from the idea of the federal government having its finger in every issue. And I really appreciate your question because I think it's at the core of what's wrong in Washington, D.C.
Thank you, Ken. And I want to remind people that if you had a question, especially for the people just joining us, by all means, please press 0. That's 0 on the keypad on your phone. If you'd like to provide us your email address so you can get email updates between now and primary day, please press 7. That's 7 on the keypad on your phone. So 0 for questions and 7 for email updates. And let's take Terry next. Terry, welcome to our telephone town hall meeting. Terry, where are you from, and what's your question, please?
This is Terry from Longmont. Did you want me to go ahead and ask my question?
Yeah. Please do, Terry. Welcome. Go ahead.
Okay. Thank you. I am concerned about the Affordable Care Act. I want to know what your position is on that. I am somebody who recently has been denied insurance by my insurance company prior to the Affordable Care Act because I recently, after paying many years for insurance, I was turned down because I had a pre-existing condition when I went to apply for it. So I want to know what your party has done about should you repeal it? What does your party have to replace it? Because it's how I'm going to base my decision on who I vote for this year.
Sure. I thank you for that, and I'm sorry that you've had problems with the healthcare system. I am strongly in favor of repealing the Affordable Care Act, the Obamacare, and I believe that we need to replace it with a number of things. And really, it really comes down to a free market approach to the issues that we are facing. I think that, for one thing, we have too many lawsuits involved in healthcare, and I think we need to do our best to get away from that area. I think we also need to make sure that we have health savings accounts, and we give individuals the tax incentive to save money and to be able to use that money for their own good, and in a way that is really they determine. If they have a cold and they don't want to go to the doctor, they can save more money in that health savings account. If they feel like they need to go to a doctor, they can do that. But we're giving people incentives to be healthier with health savings accounts. I think we need to get rid of a lot of the paperwork that's involved in reimbursing doctors and hospitals from both the government and insurance companies. I think we need to reform the tax code. It's time that not only should employers get the tax breaks for providing health care, but we should give individuals tax breaks for their own health care decisions. And in that way, we increase the number of consumers in the marketplace, and we drive down costs. I think that we need to support state-run high-risk pools. I think we need to promote healthy living. So there are a number of very well-thought-through ideas that Republicans have offered in the House. They have been killed in the U.S. Senate, and I hope that the Republicans take over the Senate this year, and I hope that we get a majority that will deal with this issue in a responsible way.
For the people who just joined us on the call, we still have some more people coming on the call. If you want to ask Ken a question, please press 0. That's 0 on the keypad on your phone. And if you'd like to provide us your email address, please by all means press 7 so we can send you email updates between now and primary day. We had this question come in earlier today from Eric, and the question goes like this: how do we keep energy prices from increasing in Colorado? Ken?
I'll tell you, it's simply supply and demand, and we certainly have a high demand in this country for energy. We need to increase the supply, and that's done by having a all-of-the-above energy policy and letting the marketplace dictate the source of energy that people choose. We have great resources here in Colorado. We have, and especially in the 4th Congressional District. I have driven the Eastern Plains. I have seen the solar panels. I have seen the windmills. I have seen the oil and gas wells. We are blessed in the 4th Congressional District with great energy potential, and we have to make sure that the federal government doesn't stop individuals from drilling on oil and gas leases on federal lands. We have to make sure that we encourage the responsible production of coal in the state of Colorado and the use of coal. And so the more energy that we can supply here in Colorado, the more we can drive down the costs of that energy. And frankly, it's one of the answers to balancing our budget. If we produce low-cost energy, we will be able to compete with other countries around the world in producing products that are essential to growing our economy.
This one came in from Alice earlier today. What is your position on the creation of the National Heritage Area in southeastern Colorado?
I am opposed to the creation of the National Heritage Area in southeastern Colorado, and I think it is a bad idea. I have been down there. I have visited with a number of individuals, including Kimmy Lewis, who has led the charge against the expansion, the Army's expansion into Pinyon Canyon, and again is leading the charge against the expansion or the creation of a National Heritage Area. I'm concerned about the process that they use. This is one of those ideas where the federal government doesn't tell you what's in the bill until you pass the bill. So you create a National Heritage Area, and 3 years later, a plan is approved that restricts the rights of landowners in that National Heritage Area. And I think it's a bad idea. I think the federal government owns enough land in Colorado, and we need to promote private property rights, not give the federal government more control over our private property.
We have our first question of the night. Would you like to volunteer for Ken's campaign? If you would, please press 1 on the keypad on your phone now. We'll have one of our volunteers call you up to volunteer. So if you'd like to volunteer, please press 1. That's 1 on the keypad on your phone. While you're volunteering, let's take Don. Don, welcome to our telephone town hall meeting. Don, where are you from, and what's your question, please?
Hi, I'm in Longmont. And my question has to do, what, if anything, do you feel you'd be able to do to somehow get rid of the misuse of power by those who have been placed in the executive branch, who what I believe are illegally using their powers beyond the scope of what they've been granted by Congress or anyone else?
It's another great question. I think there are a few different things that Congress, the House of Representatives, can do. The first thing is all spending bills originate in the House, and we can reduce the ability of individuals in the executive branch to usurp power or exceed power by restricting the amount of money that's designated for programs. So we can identify a program and completely defund that program or reduce the funding for that program. We can also hold hearings, and I think hearings are very important. I think it's important. President Obama has talked time and time again about the need for transparency. I don't believe that he is actually sincere in his wanting to have a transparent government. But one of the roles of the House of Representatives is to hold hearings and look into issues. And I'm so pleased that House Speaker Boehner appointed a special committee to investigate the Benghazi, the issues surrounding the tragedy that occurred there. And I think it's very important that we look at the actions of members of Congress, like Lois Lerner at the IRS and the NSA and others that are engaged in activities that I think they should not be engaged in. And so we can shed some light on what those folks are doing.
I want to remind people that just joined us. If you have a question, please press 0. That's 0 on the keypad on your phone. And if you'd like to provide us your email address so you can get email updates from the campaign, please by all means press 7. So 7 for email updates, 0 for questions. I'm going to do another polling question right now. The question goes like this. It's pretty simple and straightforward. Will you support Ken in the Republican primary on June 24th? If the answer is yes, press 1. And if the answer is no, press 2. Will you support Ken in the Republican primary on June 24? 1 is yes, 2 is no. We really appreciate your participation. Meanwhile, let's take Edwin. Edwin, welcome to our telephone town hall meeting. Edwin, where are you from? And what's your question, please?
I'm from Gale, Colorado.
Welcome, and go ahead, please.
My question is,
Edwin fell off. He must have hit the knob or something. Let's take up John if we can next. John, welcome to our telephone town hall meeting. John, where are you from, and what's your question, please?
Well, I'm down here in Pritchett. I've got more than one question. One of them's, what can we get done about these rodents that these environmentalists think so important, these prairie dogs? I got to talk to you a little bit up at the Ordway the other night about it, and we need to. I feel like we need to rein in the EPA and the Endangered Species Act.
Gotcha.
Okay. John, thank you for your question. I agree with you. The EPA is out of control. They have gone far beyond their mandate, and I really think it's dangerous. They have been taken over by a group of liberals who have no common sense and no practical knowledge of what people who live off the land and agriculture and energy production and other areas go through. If they think it's so darn easy to do the things that they're trying to regulate, they should try to go to the store and find food if the farmers aren't working their tail feathers off producing that food. So I am very disappointed with the EPA. I think they rely on bad science, and the Endangered Species Act has been abused, in my opinion, and it has created a situation where environmentalists are trying to protect animals that are not, in fact, endangered and are not in need of protection, and they are trampling on private property rights by using that. And I think it was not intended to be used that way, and it's unfortunate. I think prairie dogs are anything but endangered, and I think that individuals should have a right on their property to control the population of prairie dogs. They are varmints. They are not and should not in any way be protected. I had prairie dog problems on my property, and I always worry about a horse breaking a leg or another animal getting hurt because of the damage that they do to the property. So I'm glad that you took this call, and it was a pleasure visiting with you the other day.
Let's take another question in a moment. One last call. If you have a question of Ken, please press 0. That's 0 on the keypad on your phone. And if you'd like to provide us your email address for email updates, please press 7. Tim is next. Tim, welcome to our telephone town hall meeting. Tim, where are you from, and what's your question, please?
I'm Tim. I'm from Kersey, and I'd like to know how Ken decided to run for this national office. Did he pray about it? And if he did, where did he find his answer in the Bible?
Well, thanks. I appreciate that, and it's good to have a question from a friend in Weld County. I did pray about it, and I believe that through prayer and contemplation and discussing this issue with my family, I have come to the conclusion that this is the right path for me. And I am excited about doing this, and I am waiting as my opponents are for God's answer to this campaign and this election. And as with everything, I will look forward to fulfilling my calling in the public sector, which I believe I have been called to.
Thank you, sir. Another question for the listeners. If you'd like a yard sign, please press 1. That's 1 on the keypad on your phone. We'll make arrangements to get you one. Would you like a yard sign? If you would, please press 1. That's 1 on the keypad on your phone. Meanwhile, let's take Bonnie. Bonnie, welcome to our telephone town hall meeting we're having tonight. Bonnie, where are you from, and what's your question, please?
Bonnie Coons from Washington County. Ken, we just saw you a week or so ago. We appreciate you coming out to Northeast Colorado. That means you care. My question is, with the Veterans Administration and the horrible mess that the VA is in, how do you feel about it, and what kind of solutions would you bring forth in your job in the 4th District?
Well, thanks, Bonnie. It was great seeing you the other day, and I do care about Northeast Colorado. It is every time I go there, I'm so impressed by the people there that are working hard to produce so much for this country. I have to tell you, I think the first step at the Veterans Administration is to fire the cabinet level, Mr. Shinseki. I think he has got to go, or I should call him General out of respect. I think he has got to go, and I think that there has to be a congressional investigation into the terrible practices that have gone on there. And I also think that it's time that we look at using the private sector to bolster the services that we give to our veterans. If a veteran lives far away from a facility, I think that veteran should be given the option to go to a private or a hospital, non-VA hospital. And I think that it is time that we make sure that if VA hospitals aren't being run properly by the government, that we look at these nonprofit agencies that can go in and run hospitals they run one here in Weld County in Greeley, and they do a wonderful job. And I think that it is only appropriate that we look at doing the same thing for our veterans. We've made a promise to our veterans, and we cannot fall down in that promise. We have got to keep that promise to them.
Let's take another caller in just a second. One more question. If you'd like to contribute to Ken's campaign, we can give you a shout back. Press 1, though, now. Press 1 on the keypad on your phone if you have any interest in contributing to Ken's campaign. We really appreciate anybody pressing 1 on that. We're going to take Brooks next. Brooks, welcome to our telephone town hall meeting. Brooks, where are you from, and what's your question, please?
Hi, I'm from Kiowa, southeast of Denver, and I'd like to know if Ken will work to repeal ethanol subsidies.
Yeah, I have to tell you, Kyle, I think that we've made a mistake in how we have proceeded down the path with ethanol and gasoline. I am an advocate for the free market, and I'm an advocate for state rights, and I think that the federal government should not be in the business of promoting one type of fuel over another. I think you should be able to go to a gas pump, and you should be able to choose whether you want 0% ethanol and 100% gas, or 50% ethanol and 50% gas. And that's what I think is the best market approach to choosing our energy, our fuels for our cars. So I think that if we get to the point, when we get to the point where we truly have a market model for our fuel choices, we will not need, and I would not be in favor of supporting the ethanol subsidies and mandates that are going on. And frankly, I wouldn't be in favor of supporting tax breaks for other sources of energy. We've got to let energy stand on its own and compete in the marketplace.
Ken, thank you so much for that. Ken, if you're close to the base of if you're on a cordless phone, if you can move closer to the base, that'd be great. I think we're getting a tad bit of feedback if that's the way you're rigged up on the phone tonight. Next piece of business, we want to remind people for the last time, if they want to ask a question, please press 0. And if they want to provide us their email address, that'd be great. Press 7. That's 7 on the keypad on your phone. And I think John is next. John, welcome to our telephone town hall meeting. John, where are you from, and what's your question, please?
I'm from Eaton, Colorado, and my question it deals with the overreach of the federal government in the case of Yauk Specialty Meats in Windsor when they shut him down and for an alleged rodent infestation, and there is significant evidence that shows there never was a rodent infestation. The science was there to take an ultraviolet light to see if there was rodent contamination on any of the meat. They issued a recall for 90,000 pounds, which is 2 semi-loads over 9 months. And Mr. Yauk was never issued a non-compliance for rodents. He was never given the opportunity to comply.
Ken, what do you think about what John was talking about, please?
Well, I don't know the specific example, and so I can't speak to that business being shut down. I live in the area, and I haven't heard of that, and I'm sorry that a business was shut down. We should do everything we can, and these times especially, to make sure that we are creating jobs and not interfering with jobs. At the same time, if there was a serious problem, then we expect the government to make sure that our food is safe. But I think it's another function that can be performed by state government. I think it's another function that the state government can do and should do and will do in a way that takes into account local concerns. And so, as I said, I don't know that particular situation, but I do know that the government, when it acts, the federal government, when it acts in a regulatory way, I've heard consistently from people that they are, from bankers, how much they are being harassed by the bank regulators, and from others in business that are regulated by the federal government. And so I am very skeptical that the federal government is leading us in a worthwhile way with the regulations that it's imposing.
We're going to take another question from the live audience in just a minute. By the way, press 0 if you have a question like that. This question came in earlier from Margaret. How should America address its immigration problems? Ken?
Yeah, I think immigration is one of those issues that is dividing us, and it's just unfortunate. I think what we need to do is elect individuals to the United States Congress who have the backbone to enforce the laws that are in place now. And I think it's terribly unfortunate that the Democrats continue to argue for a comprehensive bill and won't deal with this in a piecemeal fashion. The first thing we need to do is we need to secure our border. We also need to have a guest worker program where people can get into this country quickly, legally, and we have some verification that the person that's applying for a job is actually the person who was let into the country legally. We have to make sure that people don't overstay their visas, and so that's another part of that employment verification program. And then and only then do we deal with the issue of what should we do about the people who are here illegally. I don't trust the federal government to give people amnesty or some form of amnesty, and then the federal government says, we'll make sure we secure the border in the future. This president has too often decided which laws he likes and which laws he doesn't like, and has only enforced those laws that he likes, and there is just no trust, in my opinion, among the American people, and especially in the 4th Congressional District, the people that I listen to put up with the kind of nonsense that this president is engaged in on the immigration issue.
Let's take another question right away. It's going to be from Ernie. Ernie, welcome to our telephone town hall meeting. Ernie, where are you from, and what's your question, please?
I'm wondering if Ken is going to push to totally repeal Obamacare, or whether he, like some of them, thinks that somehow we can dismantle it piece by piece, which I think is foolish. The government has no business in health care whatsoever. Look at what they're doing with the Veterans Administration, which is just a tiny tip of the iceberg compared to the whole nation's health care in the hands of the federal government. And it seems to me that Democrats, when there's something comes up they roll up their sleeves and they fight like street fighters, and it seems like Republicans want to stay in their nice suits and play patty cake and be nice guys, and it just isn't working.
Ken, your thoughts?
I'll tell you, I appreciate your views on the differences between Democrats and Republicans. I've been a prosecutor most of my professional life, and I am used to rolling up my sleeves and fighting hard for justice, and fighting hard for victims, and fighting hard for law enforcement. And I will do my very best to fight hard in Washington, D.C., and Obamacare needs to be repealed. Now, are there some good pieces of Obamacare? Perhaps, and if there are good pieces of Obamacare, then let's look at those pieces and let's try to work them into the new legislation that's being created. But I think the first step is to repeal Obamacare, not to try to dismantle it piecemeal, because we'll never have the political will in Washington, D.C. to actually go through the 1,800 pages of law and the tens of thousands of pages of regulations and try to figure out what's working and what isn't working. And so I think you start with repealing it and start with rebuilding a healthcare system in this country. And frankly, I don't think the federal government should take the lead in that healthcare system. I think the private sector should, and we make a mistake when we allow the federal government to take that lead.
We're trying to plow through as many questions as we can tonight. We're going to try and get them all answered. Norma's next. Norma, welcome to our telephone town hall meeting. Norma, where are you from, and what's your question, please?
From Fort Morgan. I wonder how you feel about American education today. How do you feel about Common Core, the multitude of tests that are being given to students and teachers are having to deal with, and the federal control over making everybody the same?
Yeah, I'll tell you, I am opposed to the federal government taking the lead in education, and I think that Common Core is a mistake. I think that we are much better off allowing parents and teachers and school boards to take the lead in our educational system. It is another example of where the federal government has gone far beyond the scope of what our founding fathers and, frankly, good policy would suggest. And we need parent choice. We need to give parents the ability to choose in an ideal world between different schools in a community, and we need to do our very best to make sure that good teachers are paid a good salary and bad teachers are dismissed from that job and from the profession. And the federal government is not the answer to accountability in the classroom. That comes at the local level. And I would be absolutely in favor of shifting as much of that power, as much of that authority to the local level and getting it away from the federal government.
Our next question came in earlier today from Tim. Do you think the federal government is infringing too much on our constitutional rights?
Yes, I do, Tim. I think that the federal government, in so many ways, is infringing on our constitutional rights. I think that the 10th Amendment has been ignored to our detriment for a long time, and I think that we need to give the states much more power in education, transportation, environmental enforcement, so many areas. I think that the federal government has infringed on our constitutional rights by spying on us with the NSA. I think they have really just completely ignored the Constitution by using the IRS to discriminate against conservatives. There are so many examples right now of how the federal government is really ignoring the Constitution and hurting us as individuals. I think that President Obama, with his executive orders, is legislating in ways that he should not legislate. I think that he is ignoring the timelines that were set in the Affordable Care Act, and those timelines should be respected. And if they're going to be changed, they should be changed by Congress and not by the whim of a president. This president acts more like a monarch than he does a president of a republic like the United States of America.
And our next question that came in earlier is from Jim, and this goes like this. This question goes like this, rather. Will you support term-limiting members of Congress?
I mentioned that in my opening remarks. I think that is absolutely true. One of the things that the Bible teaches us is that bad company corrupts good character. And I believe if we leave individuals in D.C. too long, while they may have very well gone there for good reasons, and they may very well have been good people, if they are surrounded by that kind of corruption for too long, they will be corrupted. And we have got to term limit, and reasonable term limits, not 1 2-year term or 2 2-year terms, but reasonable term limits for members of the House and members of the Senate.
This next question comes from Eugene. This is live. Eugene, welcome to our telephone town hall meeting. Eugene, where are you from, and what's your question, please?
I'm from Strasburg, and my question has to do back with when you were speaking about the Affordable Care Act and enacting the health care accounts. There's quite a few of us aged people who don't have time to build up these health care accounts. Not only that, but there's a number of people in the country who, through no fault of their own, have been injured and are no longer able to work. How would you provide for them?
We have a compassionate country, and we need to have a safety net so that individuals have some health care, and we can't expect folks who have reached the end of their working career to have built up health savings accounts. You're absolutely right, and so it's something that has to be recognized, and we have to make sure that the younger workers are building up their health savings accounts, and we have to make sure that we have a safety net in place for our seniors, not just Medicare, but also a system that would give them something to draw on that would be akin to the health savings account.
Thank you, Ken. Another question from the audience from Jan. Jan, welcome to our telephone town hall meeting. Jan, where are you from, and what is your question, please?
Hi, I'm from Castle Rock. I had two questions. One partially you answered. I'm just kind of telling you of a program that I saw a couple of days ago. And the man is a Christian prophet. He goes all over. And he says that he felt that God told him that America has 2 years of grace. And then there is going to be such sadness and just down, humility.
Ken, your thoughts on what Jan was saying?
I have not heard that, and I don't know, but I don't know the timing, and I don't know God's will for the timing. But I do know that we are headed down a very, very dangerous path with the the amount of debt that we have in this country. I think we're headed down a very dangerous path with the priorities that we have shown in this country. And I think we're headed down a very dangerous path with the dependency that we are creating on government programs in this country. We have been such a country that has had such pride and people that have had such independence that I'm very concerned about the change in priorities. And whether it's 2 years or 20 years, we've got to do our very best to send people to Washington, D.C. that restore the principles that this country was founded on.
Thank you, sir. Let's take, we have another Jan. Jan, welcome to our telephone town hall meeting. Jan, where are you from, and what's your question, please?
Well, actually, I have a house in Fort Collins and in Estes Park. and in Sterling, Colorado. And you and I have met before, and so I want to tell you, first of all, it's been many years ago, and anybody that's listening to this, I was bank president. I became one when I was 27, and I brought forth to Ken, if you remember, that there was some very bad real estate agents and security title companies and others. If you recall this, it ended up being quite a deal several years ago. Well, I was in an accident.
Jan, we're coming up to the end of our call. What's your question, please?
The question is, how are you going to stop the overregulation of the financial institutions that don't help anybody, and they have not stopped any fraud, and they only serve to cost more money and more time to the consumer?
Yeah, Jan, I think you're right. I think that the financial crisis that happened in 2008 was not solved by the regulations that have been implemented since 2008, and in fact, they have, to a very large extent, hurt our economy, hurt our ability to create jobs. And what we need to do is we need to make sure that we are helping the most vulnerable among us, and not regulating and really giving incentive to the big banks at the expense, or the big financial institutions at the expense of our community banks and our the banks that are loaning people money to start businesses and to buy their first home. And we need to really make sure that we are not regulating ourselves into an economy of dependency and an economy that is getting away from private property rights. And that's what I hear from the bankers over and over again, is that the regulations that are being imposed upon them, not laws passed by Congress, by the way, but administrative regulations with very little oversight and very little accountability, those regulations are hurting the bank's ability to help the communities get back on their feet. I was talking to a banker the other day. He told me that they had one compliance officer in this local bank 3 years ago, and now they have 6 compliance officers. And that kind of overhead is hurting the bank's ability to do business.
Let's take another question. It's going to be from Elizabeth. Elizabeth, welcome to our telephone town hall meeting. Elizabeth, where are you from, and what's your question, please?
Hi, Ken. I'm from Greeley. I know you. You know me. Anyway, hey, what are we going to... Now you're going to try to appeal Obamacare, but how are you going to go about it? And I am just upset because I don't think anybody knew that it was going to affect everyone, not just those people who, chose Obamacare. And how are you going to go about it? What are you going to do?
Well, thank you, and I'll look forward to seeing you again in the near future in Greeley. I can tell you that I think that Obamacare was one of those laws that was passed that fooled the people. President Obama has mentioned on occasion that he believes in the redistribution of wealth, and he has used the Affordable Care Act, or Obamacare, to redistribute wealth. He now has individuals whose premiums have gone up significantly, and they are subsidizing others in this healthcare system that he has created and the Democrats in Congress have created. To answer the first question that you asked, I think that we need to repeal Obamacare, and that's a very simple act that is a very complicated process in Congress. The House can do it fairly simply because it just needs a majority of House members. In order to do it in the Senate, they need to have a supermajority, and it has to be signed by the president, or it goes back to Congress for more votes. And so we need to make sure that we get a president in office in 2016 who agrees that that Obamacare was a disaster and we can't allow it to continue. And we need to make sure that we have Republicans and some Democrats in the United States Senate to be able to get this job done. But in the House, I will do everything I can to make sure that we repeal Obamacare and that we put in place a free market system that really protects individuals and gives a patient-doctor relationship the sort of sanctity that it deserves.
We are coming up to our allotted time, and so if you didn't get your question in and you'd like an answer back, please leave us a voicemail at the end of this call. Leave us your name, your phone number, and preferably your email address so we can get back to you even quicker. As you bring us to the finish line, Ken, I'm going to ask this question. What will your priorities be as a congressman? And then, as I said, bring us to the finish line. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. My priority is the financial mess that we are in and fixing the financial mess that we are in, and I believe that we've got to reduce spending. We are not undertaxed in this country. We are overspent, and we need to focus on spending. We need to focus on reining in out-of-control government regulation and interference in our lives. And I also think that it is essential that we have a congressman that gets out and meets people, and I will do my very best to travel this district and to listen to people, to talk about what's going on in Congress, to be honest, to be transparent, to be forthright, and to work very hard. This is not a job that I intend to do for a long time. I want to go back to Washington, D.C. I want to do my very best for the people of the 4th Congressional District, and I want to come back home and be with my family. So God bless you for being on this call today. God bless America.